Mojito?
The year is 2027. Chaos has descended on the whole of the planet. Earth's magnetic poles have flipped, and weather patterns have changed. The world laughed at him when he announced the annexation of Greenland, blurting utterances like frozen desert. To which Joe Biden responded, "What flavor?" In the summer of that year, Barron Trump led the expedition into the unmapped interior of the cold wasteland. The journey was grueling, but the change in weather was melting away large portions of ice and showing new paths through the interior. Everything changed when they were set upon by a group of blue-skinned, zombie-like creatures that would come to be known as the Walkers of the White. Barron, wielding the ancient axe of his family, vanquished the party and its gruesome leader. Buried deep in the cranial tissue of the chief was a luminescent blue gem, a small gem that would alter the course of history forever. Returning to his father, Barron presents the gem victoriously. However, the elation would soon turn to dread. For when the blue light glinted in Trump's eye, he was smitten. He began to covet the gem and spend all of his time with it. Soon all the Trump buildings were now a light iridescent blue, leaving the classic gold theme behind. Things continued to run as usual in the last year, but Americans were uneasy about the lack of trolling and abrasive statements from their leader. Most had grown to love him for it, though many hated him for it at the outset. The Trump of old had turned hermit by the seduction of a gemstone. On the day of the new president's inauguration, Trump emerged from the White House with a pale blue tint about him and a cold stoicism set hard over his face. Without paying attention to the formalities of the inauguration, he approached the podium and spoke. "My fellow Americans, I have discovered the key to immortality. Or possibly, what's more accurate, is that it found me. My team has determined that this stone I hold before you has granted me the ability to live forever." He paused long enough to let the gasps wash across the crowd, and continued. "I must, however, remain in an environment below freezing point, or we think I might hulk out or something. We're not entirely sure. This is why I will remain in Greenland, of which I will rule in perpetuity until the end of days." He would keep that promise. His son Barron would go on to liberate the icy island from all Walkers of the White, and together they cemented the future of the dynasty.
Thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. What you been up to, man? I love the bandana, dude. You look like a I don't want to say the F word, but I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love it. I bet it smells like gun oil.
Yeah. I just like to throw my guns in a barrel of oil.
In a barrel full of oil.
Mm.
Nice. Nice. Well, dude, so how's it been? What you been up to today? Anything cool? Just give us the interesting parts. So
we can't handle snow down here, so.
Oh yeah, well, good thing you drive a Hummer. Has it been in 4-wheel drive all day, or?
Well, it's always 4-wheel drive. So.
It is. It's locked in 4-wheel drive always.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, well, this is the one day out of the year it matters. So.
Well, I'm starting to wonder if mud tires are good for snow, because I did slide around a good bit. You know, it wasn't hard to drive; it was hard to stop.
They just don't dig very much. I bet if it's powdery, it does, but I bet you the roads there are already ice, right?
Yeah. Well, this was when it was snow. It just started snowing yesterday.
Oh, okay.
We were riding around, and
well, that thing also, it's got some old school brakes on it. It's pretty much a truck. It's a Chevy Blazer in the suspension, right? Or a short Tahoe. It's something like that. It's something that's like cross compatible with some other GMO.
Colorado in the canyon.
Oh, okay. Colorado in the canyon. Yeah. Yeah.
But we had to get out yesterday, not because we had to go check on our business, not because we needed food, but Hannah's book got released. The book she wanted to buy got released yesterday, and she,
nice.
Yeah.
Or was it, you had to go to Target for it?
No, we went to Books A Million. I don't buy with Target girls.
Yeah, you can't. You should not.
Wing series or something. I don't know. I haven't. It's not for me.
Well, the question that America has is it smut or is it not smut? That's what we all want to know. Is it smut? That's the game show we play.
Like, I would say it's like 35% smut.
Okay. That's actually a good mix.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I like. Yeah.
This one's dialed back. This one's a lot better. Now, it does get dirty in there. I read the first 3 chapters, and there's a sexually frustrated woman writing this book. So,
ooh. All right. Well, those are always the best to listen to on audio, I assume.
Well, you just got to make sure nobody else is around.
And it's probably really important who the narrator of the book is. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't want to get like Morgan Freeman to do that book. You know? No. You'd want to get like Hugh Grant to do that. Yeah. That would make more sense. Well, dude, like I said, thanks for sitting down for a little pod. We'll try to crank out a little hour. I know you got other shit to do today. You're a small businessman. But we decided like a week ago that we were going to do something, changed it up. And it actually couldn't have been more timely, because as soon as like day 3 of the new Trump administration hit, I started to see some like, okay, well, these aren't criticisms I'm hearing from anybody who's like a critic of Trump, really, but it's like from factions of the right, I'm hearing some criticisms, and I don't know. So today, I guess we're going to dive into what a couple of anarchists like ourselves think of a Trump 2.0, a Trump 47. What do we think of this term going into it? What, our feelings on the whole thing, because although the choice might have been clear in the election, that doesn't mean that both choices are clear of dangers, right? So
yeah, I think a lot of people think this is the fix to the problem, and that's not it.
Yeah,
I feel like it's the ripping off the Band-Aid kind of thing. We still, after 4 years, we still got a lot to fix.
Yeah. There's still some healing to be done after you rip off a Band-Aid, just to stick with that metaphor. And I don't know, I was thinking more about this topic in this conversation. And one reason I think it's important to have it is because like, it's important to show a mental pliability, right? Because I think that's one thing I would be super critical of people who would call themselves leftists, is they're not really able to like step outside of their own branch of thinking and like play with new ideas and try them on and see how they feel and see how they fit with everything you know about the world, you know about history, and you know about human nature, and like kind of decipher truth. A lot of them just don't have that ability. And there's a lot of those people on the right too. But I think there's a big
with that Harry, what's his name? Harry, here, I'm gonna look him up real quick. Here it is. Harry Sissons.
Harry Sisson. Yeah.
Harry Sisson. So he's like
Harry Sisson.
He's like coming at any little thing he can. He's like, it's crazy because what he made fun of the MAGA people from saying like, oh, Trump's really gonna do this and he still can be president last election. It was so embarrassing because we're like, look, we realized that there was cheating. There was something iffy happened. I'm not really sure who was involved and why it happened, but
we're talking about the 2020 election, right?
So, everybody kept saying like, oh, Trump's really president. He just had to do it behind the scenes. Like, this is him just really doing it so he gets 3 terms and all that stuff. And I was like, dude, come on, guys. Like, we got to realize that we got our butt. Well, they got their butt kicked because I don't really assign myself to either side.
Yeah.
Because I don't trust any of them.
Yeah.
And now they're doing that after they made fun of it so bad, they ridiculed it like conspiracy theorists. Oh, you're just grasping at anything. And now they're doing the same thing. They put out, COMS still hasn't lost. We still have 24 hours before the inauguration. And I was just like, dude, y'all got y'all's butts kicked. Like, there was, like, even if Trump isn't exactly what everybody wants, but it's what we've been handed, and it's what we got to deal with. You know, this is going to be tough, but you know, what do you always say is he's not the president we chose, president that we deserve.
Kind of. If we're all being honest with ourselves and honest about our flaws, I bet you a large subset of Americans have similar flaws to what they would call criticisms of Donald Trump. So what I mean in short is the very things that you might hate about Donald Trump, you probably got some friends that hate that about you also.
Yeah.
You know, it's this idea, I think it was Nietzsche that talked about, you know, when a time of crisis arises, a leader will emerge, and it's like a leader that not everybody wants, but it's the leader that everybody sort of deserves. I think it was kind of along the ideas of like I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I think in a metaphysical sense, metaphorical sense, it is the leader we sort of deserve, and not maybe the one we want, but it is the one that represents the bulk of American nature, it seems, if we're really being honest with ourselves. And so, and it's a fun topic to talk about. And what's interesting is like the stuff, I feel like the stuff we're going to talk about should be the stuff that you hear from leftists and progressives, but this stuff always gets left out because this kind of message is like too much detail and it just won't get those kind of views. And those people are driven by clicks and views a lot less, or a lot more than they are driven by like principles or ideology. So, you know, your principles aren't going to override the fact that like, well, I'm not going to, like, this gets less views, so I'm going to say the easy, digestible thing that instills fear in somebody. And, you know, take the clip of Elon doing what he did, and then for 5 days run on with, see, they're all Nazis, when there are some very real criticisms and some very real things to be scared about with, you know, what Trump has, like Trump and his nature and wanting to be liked and wanting to win. And last term, at least, his choice of people that he kept around him, you know, it made us at least a little wary.
Yeah, still
you know what I mean? Yeah, still wary. So,
dude, so one thing that gets me is like, there's no way the left thinks that they can post these things and actually gain more followers. Like the whole Elon thing. If you watch the whole thing in context, it was beautiful. If I Elon and I didn't know his history and wasn't a little scared of him and his technology, I would be like, what a heartfelt dude, what a family guy with his kid up there, letting him jump up and down and being excited with him. And then they post that, I'm like, you're never gonna win me over with that kind of thought, you know? Like, so why are they pushing things that they're not gonna get more people to their side with? They're only going to keep the people that they have that are just going to believe that no matter what and never question anything that's told to them.
That's a good question. My best guess, or maybe my best theory on why, is because if they start posing those kind of questions, they might, for one, alienate a lot of their audience who feels like it's too far above them, you know, and people kind of subconsciously get insulted by material that is too in depth for them, right? Like if you don't have the context to understand what's going on, it's like your subconscious will give you some sort of justification to write it off. So one, they'll probably alienate some of their audience if they start talking about like the crypto stuff, you know what I mean? Or if they start talking too much about like Jared Kushner, or, you know, or like I don't know, some of the weird numerologies definitely got us suspicious. And then like the real utility based stuff, like Trump's dealings with Israel, not that there have been any worse than any other president, but they're still there. I don't know. So, and there's been some interesting developments in the past 4 or 5 days that makes this podcast and us doing it right now really apropos. Because like, I don't know if you saw, and maybe this is a good place to start. Did you see Trump announce Operation or Project Stargate?
Was it for the Mars thing?
No. Yeah, you would think so. You would think that Operation or Project Stargate has something to do with getting in a fucking rocket ship and going somewhere else. But it has everything to do with AI and not that. So this is like a $500 billion project to build AI servers in-house in America, produce it all here, and like win the AI space race.
Yeah.
So
we have to. Here's the thing, it's like I don't like it, but if we don't, somebody else is, and it's going to take over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we don't get out front of this and control how it's going to be, then China might have a more lawless version. India might have a more India pro version, because those 2 countries are going to get that stuff out fast.
Mm-hmm.
They have the workforce to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do it, man. I'm not crazy about it. I don't really understand everything about it. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I'm scared of it, but we can't let them be the Russia of the space race.
Yeah, it does seem like on a utility, like just at a utilitarian level, that somebody is going to make it now. Like the cat's out of the box. The idea has been had. It's in the human zeitgeist. Somebody is going to create this. And the argument of if it's not us first, then it will be somebody evil, which, okay, that's not entirely accurate, because if we don't do it right, we will be, there will be evil people running the thing that we built. So, but, and I've never been to China, but I've heard stories. And it seems like if they got a hold of it, human rights might be a little less of a focus when it comes to it. Control might be more of a focus as like a safe, like if you were in a casino, you'd probably like the odds on China violating human rights with the tech is probably better odds than America doing it. So that's maybe a granted, but also that's it's like at some level that's like a nuclear arms race, right? At some level you can justify doing just about anything because, well, we got to do it first before they do it. That's sort of the same thinking behind like a preemptive strike too, and I don't know, if our government's unstable and run by people that have other interests, then I definitely don't trust the mechanisms of control there. But
so that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. If I can trust who's in control of it, who's writing the laws about it and everything. Because I don't. How can the normal person say what they want and push for that if we don't know what it is yet? Let me tell you, sentient AI has already been created.
Yeah,
I believe it has. I believe it's been around probably since the 50s or 60s. And it's somewhere around there. And it's just been slowly trickling out because they can't overwhelm us with technology. And they got to work real fast after World War II and created a lot. And if you don't believe that, go look back in the 40s or 50s whenever the Black Hawk, not Black Hawk, the helicopter, but the
SR-71?
Yeah, and so it was flying around back then, and people were freaking out, seeing it out in the desert in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And then they finally let it out in like the 90s that they actually had it the whole time.
Yeah. So if that pattern, sorry. So if what you're saying is if that pattern follows with artificial intelligence as a technology like we had with aviation and just about everything else, then the ChatGPT 3.5 or 4 or whatever you're using now is something that the government's already had for a while.
Long time.
that's what history would say now, and that very well could be it. But it seems like there's been a level of technological incompetency the past so many years, at least on the surface level. So for that theory to have to be true, there would have to be a department that is so compartmentalized that nobody, even on like the intelligence committee in the Senate, knows about it. Not even like the president knows about it, because the way Donald Trump's acting and the way that the people around him are acting, it's not like we're gonna liberate these technologies. It's like we gotta invent it first. We gotta get there. You know, it's almost like a more public Manhattan Project, right? It's like, well, everybody knows we're working on this, and everybody's got early versions of it. Yeah. Ooh. And what was interesting is, I don't know if you saw this, but at the announcement of the $500 billion project, and I'm not sure if the government is backing the $500 billion, or if these companies are doing it, or if it's some sort of pairing, but OpenAI and a couple others are involved in it, and Sam Altman was on the stage there. And I think like the day after or the day of, Elon had some interesting stuff to say about it and said that they don't have the money for it, and kind of like talk some shit about it, but him and Sam Altman have some beef over the OpenAI thing.
Haven't seen that.
That was actually the last Tucker, or one of the last Tucker Carlson episodes, maybe not one of the last ones, but a recent one. He had on the mother of the coder, scientist, engineer that worked at OpenAI that suicided him, that got suicided in a really strange way. And she was trying to blow the whistle on it and say that he would have never done that. He's not suicidal. He would have never killed himself. Something suspicious is going on here. And Elon seems to think Sam Altman is kind of suspicious. And I don't know. So that did worry me.
So speaking about that group of people, how do you feel about Zuck? About him being all cool now. He's doing some jujitsu. He's libertarian. Dude, you remember how big of a fan I was of Tim Kennedy, right? I went to his whole response class. I spent $700 on that class, which was great. It was good. The teacher there was great. I learned a lot with my firearm. The jiu-jitsu, weapons defense stuff. I was like in the, what do you call it, the 1% of the class? Does that mean you're the best? I was with a black belt the whole time, and I was a blue belt at the time.
Nice.
But not bragging about myself. And then he said all that about on a podcast. He said certain people shouldn't have guns. I don't believe certain people should have guns. I'm like, dude, that is the most tyrannical. That one sentence means everything you say you're working for is not true. And so I pretty much was like, this guy's off the rail. This guy's not true. Then it came out. He lied about his war experiences. So he was lying about his war stories, coming out that he wasn't there at that time, or he wasn't with certain people, or he made some stuff up. Then he posted yesterday or the day before a picture with Mark Zuckerberg and said that he has never been treated nicer by anybody. Took a picture with him, posted it. I was like, dude, supposedly he was monetizing you back in the 20s, and now 2020, 21, and now you are buddies with him. And Gordon Ryan was in that picture. I wonder if I was the first person to comment on Gordon Ryan's next photo. I wonder if he commented back, because I asked him.
This detail probably doesn't have anything to do with it, or maybe it has everything to do with it. I don't know. But Tim Kennedy also came up in the news recently because he was on a show, like some sort of military themed show, with the guy who blew up the Tesla truck at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, that ex-military dude. So him and Tim Kennedy were on a show together. So yeah, that's interesting. Tim Kennedy might be an asset, but that's a fun podcast where you get to speculate on that'd be a fun game show. Who's an asset, who's not an asset. But
I go so deep. Let's see. Gordon Ryan never commented back.
So the Zuckerberg thing, though, what it makes me think about, do you remember in like middle school, maybe a little bit in early high school, how somebody would be one way at the end of the school year, and then after the summer, they like went on a vacation or got into something new and got some new clothes and was like completely different and they're like completely changed their style. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I did this in middle school because I remember because I was rodeoing when I was in Louisiana, and then had to move to Mississippi, and there was not really any rodeos out there. It's pretty far away, believe it or not, from any good youth rodeos at the time. So I quit doing that. Eventually ended up skateboarding, and this was like a couple year transition. But there was one summer where I got, because my birthday's in the summer, so I got some like skater clothes when I was like 12 or 13, and I came back dressing like that and got completely made fun of because it was so different from the way I. So this reminds me of Mark Zuckerberg. You know what I mean? Like he left the last semester of last year feeling like he was not very cool and was like, I'm going to show them, I'm going to get jacked, I'm going to get swole, I'm going to come back, I'm going to be cool, I'm going to wear new clothes, I'm going to get some cool in. And now he's coming back and everybody's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But the man does run Facebook, and Facebook is a very powerful communication company. And if he's in earnest coming over to a libertarian sort of stance, then I'm open to the idea of it. But he's just got to march in front of the rest of us so I can keep my eye on him. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to be watching him and not trusting him off the bat. But that's kind of my policy with anybody that I don't know. So any of these people that just, to me, exist on the internet.
I'm willing to forgive, but he's going to have to really put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to put everything on the line for us if we're going to trust in him.
What if he showed up at your jiu-jitsu gym and rolled with you and just like was a master and you're like, all right, well, I guess fucking I changed my mind.
Because I've trained, I've been so busy, I probably could beat me now. I don't ashamed to say that.
Yeah. And there are some complete tool bags, I'd imagine, in jiu-jitsu. But by and large, people who make it to be a black belt or a purple belt have a degree of discipline. And to get to that level of discipline, you kind of can't lie to yourself. One, you can't be over I guess you have to have gone through a long period of being humbled too. So you're probably not overly arrogant, I guess, unless you've just been a black belt forever, maybe. But I don't know. I'm not in that world at all. I don't know. What do you notice mostly about purple belts and black belts in terms of like their character?
So now, dude, I don't even like rolling with white belts. Like, so I moved to a new gym and I go there and train some, or I have been. And, you know, there's always more white belts than anything else. You know, there's always new white belts. And, dude, every one of them has a chip on their shoulder. Every one of them wants to show you that they can take you. And, like, once you get a blue belt, you're not trying to, I don't care if you tap me. I don't care. Please tap me. You know, like, if I can't do what I'm learning correctly, then I can't use it whenever I'm in an emergency.
Yeah.
So what's the point of me muscling you down and forcing you to tap when I didn't use anything I learned? And so they'll try to hurt you. And so you get the blue belt, people start calming down usually. There's usually a few that still haven't figured it out. But once you get a belt, people really just start chilling out because you get tired of getting hurt. They want to train for the rest of their lives. So they also don't want to be, they want to be able to do several roles in a night with different people. Like, yeah, it's like being smart over being, but you know, a lot of white belts are young. These kids don't hurt the next day.
Yeah,
I'm hurting for 2 days, no matter what.
Well, once you get far enough in your belt progression, you've kind of like gone through a personal hero's journey. You know what I mean? It's like a coming of age sort of thing. So I guess what I mean to say by saying that is that maybe through this process, Mark Zuckerberg actually has had like a sort of spiritual reformation within himself. And and I'm kind of willing to accept that maybe Donald Trump has had something like that too. Although the need to be liked and the need to win is kind of cool, but there's not much left for him to win. It's sort of like he's already won it. So the next 4 years, sort of feel like he's ready to have a victory lap, which might mean that he follows through on all the promises. And he did already pardon Ross Ulbricht, so that did make me happy that he pardoned him. But the crypto stuff still freaks me out. One of the things that was interesting about the Project Stargate, one of the guys that was on the stage with him is on camera, and I might cut this and loop that in there for context for the viewers, but I'll just kind of tell you about it. He was talking about this AI technology being able to make mRNA vaccines on the fly and create anti-cancer whatnot, because AI can do in like near instantaneous protein folding, gene editing. Like it can read through genes and read all this stuff like, really well and reorder stuff. And I guess it can like, I don't know, we'll see. In theory, if we knew that there was just perfect angelic doves running our medical industrial complex, I'd be like, okay, so if I have cancer, you'll be able to just shoot something into me. It'll know where the cancer is. It'll change the code in these things and literally fix my DNA code. That sounds really cool. But the problem is you and I are both jaded to the fact that those people in the medical industrial complex will sell you something with one idea and it be a backdoor to something else, especially when we're talking about the convergence of big tech and big pharma with whatever AI-driven mRNA tech is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's something to be absolutely not afraid of, but aware of or wary of.
Sorry, Cole calling me.
No, all good.
He's been texting me all morning. He would call me right now.
So I got a question for you on the AI front. All right, so you run a laundromat. I was thinking and talking with my dad the other day, how cool would it be to have one of those Tesla Optimus bots that would be there and would just work, the whole overnight shift for you, fold everything that got dropped off that day. And, you could call it whatever kind of racial slur you wanted to, and it wouldn't call anybody on you.
Yeah, I've already decided. So I'm gonna get two of them and name one Larry and one Mo.
Oh, nice. You could program them to poke the other in the eyes.
Yeah. I already got one Curly, so I only need two of them.
Oh, yeah, and keep the real human Curly around.
Yeah.
To watch over the robots.
Oh,
You'll come back one day and he'll be arguing with them.
Oh, teach them and stuff.
So that's, I don't know, just real quick. We've had other technological revolutions before, like the Industrial Revolution, where we invented the steam engine. We kind of invented new processes to pull coal out of the earth, to process coal, to use coal. So that was a big revolution. We steel and all the machining and everything that comes with that. And that really only benefited the centers of power the most, because it takes a concentrated, organized force to build something, like make a steel mill, you know what I mean? But what's weird about AI so far is that it seems like it's having a huge benefit for the everyday person. Like when it comes to doing a show like this, I can do all the research of like 2 or 3 people now, just because AI is so easy at pulling it all down there, and it'll just like pretty much make the slideshow for me, and then if I want to digitally edit something and get a picture, like I don't have to worry about going to a copyright website anymore, or even with music, it'll just make everything for you. So for a person to communicate with other people with like a high fidelity digital media, it's way, way easier. And YouTube is changing because of that, and people are making these super in-depth historical videos with like photos rolling by that kind of like give you a sense of it. And it's not that they're way higher quality, but there's a lot more of them, and so more history is getting covered and more people are talking about these things. You know what I mean? Yeah. But AI, it seems like AI has more benefits to the regular common man than, let's say, the discovery of coal did for the common man. You know what I mean? But we also don't know about the problems yet.
Himself.
Wait, say that again?
Because one man can't run a steel mill or a coal mine by himself.
But one man can do a lot if he's got an easily accessible data bank of everything humans know and have ever like learned. You know what I mean? That's like a superpower.
Yeah, I've used AI for a couple different things with my business, like making Facebook posts and stuff. I got I can't remember which one I got, but let's see, which one is this? ChatGPT of some kind. But it's helped me out, but I can't make pictures with it. And I really like one that does make pictures for me for the post, because I'm always having to look on Google, and I'm just honestly, I just steal one.
You have
Smith is what I have.
Do you have an X account? If you make an X account and pay for the premium on there, you can use Grok for free, and Grok 2.0 will like do all research for you. It'll find stuff. You can put it in fun mode, and it'll make images for you. It just doesn't do videos yet, but it'll make images of just about anything. And there's some pretty like crazy wild images in there. It's like one of the more cost-effective AIs to use, and you get Twitter Premium with it. So
what is you mean X Premium?
Yeah, X Premium. Yeah. You know what I mean.
Okay. What do you get with X Premium? Do you get a little blue check mark or something?
I think you do get the blue check mark, yeah. But you mostly get used to access to Grok. That's the important thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, so main reason I wanted to sit down today was to kind of play devil's advocate for something that comes out of like the deepest reaches of internet conspiracy land. And that's I don't even know what to call it, but it's this notion that we've been double faked, right? So there's like 3 or 4 different levels to this. The first level, and let's just say it revolves around Donald Trump. The first level is you hate him for all the crass and brash things he says. You hate him for this cringe style ego that he's got. You hate him for all the things that he represents that you probably didn't like about your dad. You know what I mean? There's that first level of all the very just like surface level things that are hateable about Donald Trump. And I'll even give some of those things, like, and then there's the second level. Cause like, if you are able to read past that and look past the trolling, there's this level of like, okay, well, this is actually a message that's like connecting us back with like traditional American values and getting back to this, what they call America First sort of mentality, stopping the foreign wars, stopping the foreign aid that's going everywhere, fixing the trade deficit deals that are everywhere, bringing industry back here, manufacturing back here, investing in America. And all of that sounds awesome. And a lot of people that, are thinking a little bit about stuff are seeing this and being like, yeah, I'm not buying this. I don't really think Trump's a racist, and I don't really think Trump's a Nazi and all that. And then you get to this point where you're like, good, I feel good about myself because the media didn't trick me. You know what I mean? And there's a whole bunch of people very satisfied thinking that, no, I have it figured out. The media hasn't tricked me. But what if there is a third layer to the whole thing? That all the people that are in this like big MAGA coalition right now, what if they have been sort of, to use a metaphor you would know, like put into a cattle chute and forced into the Trump category as given like the false hero? But Trump is playing this hero character just to lead us into, willingly lead us into some sort of dystopian future. And we've talked about it before, so I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on it? Because I know you're maybe a little bit more mistrusting even than I am.
Yeah, so first of all, all the things that they push on the media are not real, Like, that's what they do. They make these things that only somebody who's very, very like confused or angry or the victim would believe, because these things really aren't. A lot of the things the media say aren't true. You can tell. And then, so it makes some people hate him. It makes some people, in spite of the media, love him. You put complete garbage up against him. Hillary Clinton. I mean, she was close, but like nobody wanted her. And that's because they cheated on Bernie Sanders. Did they do that on purpose? Like, so they make sure, because Bernie might have beat him. And then the next time they cheat on purpose with Biden, horrible 4 years. So you have no choice but to choose him next time, or you're an idiot. You're literally like, if you choose Kamala Harris, you are brain dead. And so they pretty much just force him into the position and make us invite in the hero they created, which may not work out for us at the end if he's really not on our side.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do have hope. If he is that, the one thing that I have hope, the reason I have hope is because the MAGA side, as much as they love him, they are not blind like the left was about their side.
Mm-hmm. We talk about things. We talk about things just like this. We have open dialogue and even talk about things that we might not believe, but we want to explore.
Yeah. The diehard Trump fans disagree with him on things. Mm-hmm. They call him out for the things they don't like. They disagree and say, I didn't agree with him on this. But, I still think he's a better option. So that's the one hope I have, is that I know that they won't, most of them will not I don't think they would turn on America if he turns out to be the villain.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I have hope. And that's where I think if this plan was the plan, that it won't go through.
Mm. But we're too riled up right now, and the last 4 years got our spidey senses so on high alert that we'll see something like that coming. And I really do hope that is the case. And I think you're right. Like, there is enough. It's like you can't really trick people whose central operating principle is critical thinking, right? Because eventually, like, even if you feed them a really, really clever lie, with enough critical thinking, it's going to be found out. Enough like spiritual honesty, enough like honest reflection, it will be found out. So yeah, I think eventually it would, but maybe. So here's another angle. Maybe America has a culture, and maybe for the last 10 years, it was kind of a dying culture, but it's sort of having a resurgence, a culture of radical self-reliance, a culture of radical rugged individualism, to use like the Teddy Roosevelt term, right? People who, we'll call the cops if we need to, but all of us expect to be able to defend ourselves. You know what I mean? And it makes you feel like less of a man to not be able to defend yourself and the people you love. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to be one of those people that criticizes the police, and refuses to have a gun, but then calls the police when somebody with a gun shows up to harm me. You know what I mean?
And they get mad because they didn't get there fast enough.
Mm-hmm. And so that culture of rugged individualism, those people who are your preppers, those people who are your guys who've got a gun range membership and go every week and know how to shoot, who stockpile ammunition, who've got a store of food, who know how to, do stuff in the woods, who can go shoot a deer and skin it off the backhoe of the tractor, that kind of stuff. All those skills, those kind of skills make you a little bit harder to control, because you don't have to go to somebody else for your food. You don't have to go to somebody else for your safety. And if you can provide those things, the less you can ask of your government, the better, right? So if you're trying to plan some sort of new world order takeover and get everybody into these 15-minute cities and get everybody on a digital currency, that group of people is going to be the hardest ones to convince to get on board. Mm-hmm. And you'll probably never sell them the idea of just being honest. But you could do it if you send in a Trojan Trumpy horse. You know what I mean? A giant orange horse with golden flowing hair. If you send in that horse and it's full of like actual deep state critters, after we close the gates and let in the great orange horse, then, those little mongrels and cretins could come out, and they could do something sort of like exacerbate a banking crisis or an economic crisis, or just, those two cover it, those two words, banking or economic crisis. They could facilitate something like that blame it on the last 4 years of presidency, and then as a response to this banking collapse, they could come in and insure all of our bank accounts with some sort of federal digital currency, and Trump gets to take some credit, and all the people who are Trump fans are a little bit more likely to buy into this digital currency, even if it's just like some token that was given up front.
Everybody's buying right now.
Say again?
Like the Trump coin, crypto coin that's coming out right now.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the Trump crypto coin. I'm not a big fan of doing that. It just seems kind of tacky. I don't think it's illegal, but it does seem kind of tacky. Like
all Doge coins and bought it.
You did? You sold all your Doge coins and bought it? Didn't the Hawk Tuah girl just like this just happened to her, right?
Yeah.
She had some kind of pump and dump scheme on a crypto coin.
I think somebody else did that through her name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that she would. I don't think she understood that was illegal.
Yeah, probably not. But whoever did that to her is a genius. I mean, because nobody feels bad for her.
No.
It is kind of sad.
That money's sitting in an offshore account somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knows who's probably got that money right now.
Yeah,
and
somebody's
time for it.
Mm-hmm. Somebody's sipping Mai Tais in the lobby of a Panamanian bank. That's for damn sure. So I don't know. The whole Trojan horse theory does make sense to me, because to get in these things like cryptocurrency, a central bank digital currency, even though Trump has blatantly said straight up, we will not have a central bank digital currency, and he talked about that as being a very bad thing. But sometimes what government people do is they'll promise that we'll never have a central bank digital currency, and then they'll go through and change the name to something else, and then they'll have that, right? It's like what Fauci did with the gain of function. Like they changed the definition of gain of function that's so he could lie under oath in front of Congress. You know what I mean?
What did he get pardoned for? What?
Oh, well, he did nothing. He made sure to come out and tell America that he did nothing and he committed no crimes, but that he appreciated the pardon. Yeah.
Dude, that is the slimiest thing ever. He gets to walk free. What's crazy is
I would have forgiven him if he would have been like, all right, well, now since I've got immunity and I know I'm not going to go to jail, yeah, everything RFK wrote about me in that book was right. That movie that Matthew McConaughey lost all that weight for, yeah, I killed all those homos with the AIDS. That was me. I did it. I'm just going to come out and say it now. Hate me if you want. I'm going to go into exile forever. And if he would have said that, I would have at least been like, you know what? Good. I hope his soul rests in peace. But for him to just double down on the lie, like
he will haunt this world for the next 250 years.
Mm-hmm. I will say this, and I say this completely satirical, but I'm going to say it very seriously so that the mixed message comes across very well. Mark Zuckerberg, if you're watching this, because I know you're a fan, I will completely trust you forever if you tap out Fauci on TV and then give him a wedgie. If you can do those two things for me, then you're in the club. It's like an initiation.
I'll get a meta tattoo if you do
it. Yes.
Dude, he pardoned his whole family.
He did pardon his whole family.
For what?
Well,
I haven't had time to dig into it yet, but like it's.
Well, probably because Joe was aiding and abetting and complicit in the peddling of foreign influence to a Ukrainian oil and gas company, and then all the other litany of stuff that was on that laptop. And what it also seems like is that Jill Biden is just like certifiably fucking nuts, and she has already lost a son already, Beau, and so she's probably super protective over Hunter and thinks that Hunter can do no wrong. So she probably also in some way aided and abetted. You know what I mean? Like when Hunter was burying the body of that hooker, she probably brought him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And in the court of law, that makes you an accomplice to burying that body because, you know, I mean, he needed the fuel to be able to do that, and that extra protein and glucose from the jam and high quality bread that they get, because they don't eat cheap stuff. So this is a really nice peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you know. And Jill Biden is a doctor, so she knows what she's doing when it comes to peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But, you know, she needs a pardon too, because that peanut butter and jelly sandwich is going to land her in the Alabama Slammer.
You have you seen the video where Kamala Harris's husband and Jill kiss each other on the lips and on stage?
Oh no, that sounds hot.
That sounds
I'll pull it up now.
And like peck each other in front of everybody, and everybody, what is going? There is like it's Washington D.C. is something weird.
Wait, so Kamala's husband and Jill Biden kissed each other on the lips.
Yeah, it's like a peck on the lips. It's super quick, but still, you don't do that. I don't have a close friend enough.
Yeah, we stopped doing that in like 2018. Yeah. Let's see. What else? Operation Warp Speed. If we're going back a little bit in time, Operation Warp Speed, since we have the hindsight, the vaccines and everything, right? It was right at the end of Trump's term, which kind of gave him like plausible deniability. Oh wait, was it at the end?
It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty close to the end. So it's right there at the end. He's wanting to make a good mark, and he's wanting to get reelected, right? And so he does this Operation Warp Speed. And to everybody that's a fan of him, it's kind of like he's got plausible deniability on it, because they're like, well, he didn't know what those big pharma companies were going to do. We thought the the virus was really serious at the time, and it's really killing everybody. We didn't know it was 99.907% survivable, you know?
Yeah.
We had a pretty good feeling, and we're not going to jump to any conclusions. But that was probably one of the big first things that really made me not trust Trump, right? Because somehow he skirted past that whole thing without really getting much shit on his shoes, except from people like us, you know what I mean? Who are like kind of skeptical supporters, but we would all rather Rand Paul be president. You know what I mean? Like we would all have rather Rand Paul be president. But we're like, okay, if Dave Smith or Rand Paul can't be president, then I guess Donald Trump has to be president. But, you know, we're the ones who have to be critical of like, yeah, this whole big tech thing. And what was so funny is that even though Operation Warp Speed was Donald Trump's thing, and all those people, this is like beating a dead horse at this point, but the Kamalas, the Bidens, the Obamas, the Clintons, all those people came out and said, well, I would never take a vaccine from this Operation Warp Speed, blah, 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 you know? And so that makes me think like that the big pharma people sort of try to put their puppet hand up whoever's in power, and maybe it's more concentrated at the time, or maybe they're kind of just reactive, you know, like maybe they really didn't have much preparation for this, and they sort of saw an opportunity and played the opportunity and played Trump the best they could. So, but he could also be Trojan horsing that thing in there, dude.
Well, I had a close person in my life who said they would not take that vaccine because it was warp speeded by Trump. And then he got elected, and they have gotten every shot and every booster ever since. And they try to pressure me into taking it.
And they get COVID twice a year, probably.
I know they've gotten it, but I don't know how many times. I'm not going to. I pray that theirs is saline solution every time. I know they're getting it every time they get it. They talk about it. So I pray that it becomes saline solution through some miracle, because I need them in my life. So even if they're wrong about politics, I still need them. You know?
Yep.
But they can do mental gymnastics and forget about a lot of people did mental gymnastics and had goldfish memories and decided that it was the right thing to do, and you were going to kill their grandma because you didn't take it. Because COVID. Still.
Yeah.
I haven't ran a fever since 2017, 2016, something like that. It's almost been 10 years.
Yeah. And even though we were super into, the truth on health related stuff and really kind of like learning, learning how our bodies work. COVID sort of woke me up to a lot more stuff. It kind of kicked all that into overdrive, right? So there was a positive that came out of all of that, and so maybe that's something to strike in the category of, you know, not a Trojan horse, is that there was some sort of benefit after. All right, so let's talk about something else, because the central bank digital currency kind of goes right into this, and we can paint a picture of how that happens. But your thoughts on the neural lace technology, like the Neuralink, brain to computer interface technology?
Well, there's two different. So first of all, I don't trust it because I feel like it takes away humanity. I believe that we're special. God created us to be creators. There's something special we can do in these bodies, and we're meant to do it in these bodies. But then again, if everybody else is getting this and everybody else has the entire internet downloaded into their brains at all time, I'll be living under a bridge if I don't do it. What do you do? You know, or possibly that.
It's like trying to run a business without a smartphone, but probably times 10 or times 100 in its, you know, like magnitude of efficacy.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it, but you're going to have to find other avenues to connect. It's like Facebook made me send in my ID, and I was like, I'm not doing it. But then I was like, okay, then I lose my business profile page, which I get, you know. And now since it's happened, I've gotten 3 people contact me on Facebook. I'm like, worth it? You know, like, I don't know.
Yep. All right. So what you just said, though, highlights so perfectly how, to use a, for lack of a better term, the slippery slope, how that slippery slope works, right? So you could start with the central bank digital currency. And if you can engineer some sort of economic crash and disaster, then you can get people onto this digital currency by insuring their bank account with the FDIC insurance program, right? Because the federal government insures all bank accounts in the event of a banking collapse or a bank run or some. They're supposed to insure up to $10,000, or no, sorry, up to $200 and something thousand. Yeah. So that's what's insurable, right? But if there's not enough money to do that at the time, then they're gonna have to do something clever. And that something clever might end up having to be like a central digital currency, right? And then they distribute that. So you start there, and that's how you're using it. And the next thing you know, it becomes a convenience thing. Like, because people have it, if you're the laundromat that doesn't accept this as a token, then it's like not having credit card machines there or something. You know what I mean? It's like trying to run a store without, you know, having the tap to pay. Eventually it'll be like that. You'll just be losing out on business. And then so you're fine, you're bought into the digital currency system. Now, once you're in the digital currency system, like, you have a digital footprint and you're there. Maybe your digital bank account is like, I don't know, you can buy all kinds of digital assets with it eventually. And then, I don't know, from that point where your money is all digital and it can be controlled by something, if it's not like an open source technology like Bitcoin, where it, like, nobody can debase it or deflate it, if it's in the other sort of central currency, then, you know, if you're a dissenter and you know, talk shit about the government or the regime or the people in power or some sort of policy, then they could turn off your money just like that. You know what I mean?
So, speaking about that, I've been seeing where TikTok has been flagging people when they talk against Trump. And have you seen that?
No.
So a lot of people are laughing about, like, haha, how's it feel? How's it feel? And I'm like, dude, do y'all not realize that you are ushering in the same, allowing the same thing that they did to us to do? Yeah. Is that so stupid?
Wait, so TikTok is censoring anti-Trump videos?
Yeah. Or flag them, something like that. I'm not really for sure.
It's putting like the misinformation flags on it.
No, I don't. I'm not really sure. You'll have to look into it. I've just been seeing a lot of posts where they're making fun of the people getting their stuff flagged or
Uh,
taken down,
uh,
and there are people complaining that they're getting their stuff taken down, which I
yeah.
think they're saying are completely nonsense. But
If TikTok is if TikTok is flagging or like doing some sort of like community notes style notation on stuff that is not true, then that makes sense. But if they're censoring it from being not true, fuck that. I'm not into that at all.
no,
Yeah. So that is interesting because
that shows if you're really free speech, and that's why I'm like really scared of a lot of these people who act like they're free speech, free everything, but they're willing to turn on the freedoms of the people they disagree with, and they are worse. They are worse than the other side because they've had it done to them.
yeah, it's being a sore winner. It's being a sore winner.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you can't do that. You gotta let them talk. Let them talk. It's free speech and true science and true discussion is the only way to weed out these things. You have to let people discuss things, or the truth never really is shown.
Yep. Open and free discourse for sure.
Crazy stuff. It's going to get proven wrong. Or if you want to believe it, it's a free country. Believe it. Misinformation is not going to run this country.
No. We're so inundated with information right now that you can't have some centralized authority figure that's pumping out misinfo and it not be contradicted by some other one. You know what I mean? Like it's way easier to propagate misinformation if there are 5 news companies all printing the same thing. If there's 500,000 different individuals that have made it their hobby to talk about the news and break it down, and you follow 10 or 12 of them that have like a gradient of opinions, then the overlap, the differences is going to help you decipher that truth because you're not going to just one person. You know what I mean?
What the thing is called like ground news, and you can get on it and you can see which news companies are putting out what they're leaning, or the journalist is leaning, or they tend to lean politically. And so you can, and it'll show different versions on different news sites, so you can decipher it and see what is going on. And I've been wanting to sign up for that and use it some, so you do everything, because it's not just American news. They show it from other countries writing about the same things that happen in America too. Something happening in their country, you know.
Yeah.
So it would be a good tool for your podcast. Probably you should invest in them.
Yeah, it's a good recommendation, but it also is a good point that even though we do have this brand new big old basket of problems that come for the human psyche and just the human in general when it comes to social media and being able to be connected with everybody on earth, like it's kind of unnatural to feel that bad feeling when you see a video of some other foreign country getting blown up and it has absolutely nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? Because like if you wanted to gravitate towards negativity, there's in that black mirror in your hand, you can find all the negativity in the world and you can just live in negativity all day. You know what I mean? You can also do that with positivity. You can also do that with rationality. Whatever your like central operating point is, that thing will like reflect it back at you. But just like this last tool you're talking about, we're developing new techniques and tools to be able to counteract all the issues of this like new and weird world of techno communication. So that's a good sign. So at least that's a good sign. And the fact that this administration wants to propagate that stuff makes me hopeful. And so even though we've been talking about the possibility of like this Trojan horse conspiracy where Trump is actually playing like a false hero, dragging everybody into a narrow chute, and then from that narrow chute we have very limited options, and all of those options take away our freedoms and get us into some digital nightmare. Although that is a possibility, I don't think it is the most likely possibility. I think what's more possible than that is sort of like a parallel to that possibility in which Trump is being used very cleverly by people who wish to do that, but he doesn't even know that he's being used to make this third level shoot conspiracy. And if you want somebody to be super suspicious of, and I'm saying this because I just don't know anything about them and their rise is kind of meteoric and like he's just real good, is like JD Vance. You know what I mean? I want to like JD Vance, and I don't have any reason not to. But because I've never met him in person, I've just got this super suspicious, like, big tech thing. So if you wanted to, like, really be suspicious of somebody who's steering the ship, maybe secretly towards some sort of big tech nightmare, it would be to watch for that. But I think it's less likely that Trump is running the show on that, and that he's like a good character to play this role unknowingly.
So you don't trust JD Vance?
Huh?
You don't trust JD?
I don't trust anybody that I don't know, as like a rule of thumb, except for Alex Jones and Tim Dillon. I trust those two people for sure.
Just from his story like that, I do like JD Vance, and
yeah, I do too. I'm not saying I don't trust him, but I just, I'm any politician I'm going to be suspicious of.
Yeah. Other than Alex Jones, I don't trust any. Which I've questioned him many times.
Mm-hmm.
Because how does he do all this stuff?
Yeah. But
if he's cloned.
If he's an asset, he's just not a very good one. That's what's convinced me, because he'll fuck up, and it's like honest fuck ups that I would make, and I'm like, no, he's a human. No, he's not an asset. But sorry, go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you.
All right, so let's play this out a little step further, and this might be like, all right, yeah. So let's play this out further. Where does this possible dystopian future that Trump is possibly a Trojan horse for, where does that line of thinking end up? Like, what is the motive, right? And I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, and there's this phenomenon in California right now in which artificial intelligence is sort of representing a potential to be able to replace actors completely. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, you just need the likeness of a few people and you can create characters, and you just need good screenwriters, right? You just need people who can come up with a clever story, and your digital characters who look just like regular people will do it all for you. You know what I mean? And we've got a huge database of real humans and the best acting doing that. And then you don't have to have those super entitled actors running around occupying that incredibly valuable real estate in the Pacific Palisades, right? So if you're the super rich techno billionaires, actors are kind of like mid-level rich, you know what I mean? But they have a disproportionate amount of influence for what they actually make in terms of value, right? And people are kind of hanging it up on listening to actors, but people used to listen to actors for their like opinions on cultural and political stuff, which is the craziest thing ever. And it's still something that's in girl culture. Sorry?
Ronald Reagan calls that.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan might have caused that a pretty good bit. Yeah, don't like that.
Speaking of actors, have you heard about Obama and Michelle Obama getting divorced?
Wait, no.
Obama is supposedly going to divorce Michelle. Yes, and the rumor is that he is dating somebody new. Can you guess who it is?
Sean Diddy Combs.
No, it's a female.
It's a female?
'90s star.
Beyonce? No. I don't know. Tell me.
Jennifer Aniston.
Wait, who?
Jennifer Aniston.
Obama?
Yeah, so that is the rumor.
That's the rumor that's out right now? Oh my God.
Hannah told me about it. I didn't even hear about it first.
Whoa. Yeah. So not only is it super annoying to have to keep up with the lives of actors and former presidents like this, like the technology itself, just the bottom line isn't going to allow for actors anymore. So you need to move all those people out of there, right? So eventually we're going to have technology that's going to make just about all of us obsolete. You know what I mean? Like, probably for at least our lifetimes, people are going to want there to be a human face in the laundromat that they drop their clothes off. They don't care if a robot folds them and washes them. They just care that somebody is there to talk to, at least, right? Some people won't care, but a lot of people will. We will care, at least until we're dead, right? Yeah. So, but eventually we won't really be needed very much, right? And so that's what makes people think, okay, so that's what's been behind their whole depopulation propaganda. Like, there's too many humans, we're affecting climate change, because they know that we're about to get to this point in technology where if you're a super rich billionaire person and you've got enough technology to take care of you and all your needs, you don't need this giant population of people to grow all the food and to support the infrastructure in which you got rich and now you operate, right? So there's this new point where we as peasants, as they would look at us, represent more of a risk, because if we don't get treated right, we might rise up and come take them out, right? So we're kind of a threat to them in that reality. So it starts with central bank digital currencies, and maybe like an economic collapse, and maybe they kind of starve out the people and don't let them use their money if you're a dissenter. And then eventually, like, you kind of just get priced out of everything, right? Your apartment gets smaller and smaller. You start having to eat cheaper and cheaper foods. And then we get to the point of which, like, the internet calls it, like, you live in the pod and you eat the bugs, right? Like, you live in some stasis chamber. It's like the Matrix pods. You're plugged up to the pod. You're getting IV drip of like cricket protein into your veins, and you're just in this virtual world where you're doing whatever you want in virtual reality. But up here on like Earth, in this virtual reality that we already have, things are just gone desolate, and the only people running around on the planet are like the super rich people, and we're all in these like underground bunkers out of the way, you know. And they didn't have to genocide us all; we all chose it. You know what I mean? Which is like, if you're talking about the metaphor of like ancient Christianity or like just depictions of the devil or something, like the devil or demons, they kind of have to trick you into it, right? Like, evil can't touch good if it's truly good, but if you choose the darkness, then it can infect you, that sort of thing. So the only true way for them to get us in the pod eating the bugs is if we choose it of our own free will. But it's a slippery slope of bad decisions that come after some sort of central bank digital currency that we don't have control over.
What do you think will push us underground? What do you think might do an EMP, a fake nuclear, and everybody has to go underground?
Yeah. They could pull some kind of Project Bluebeam thing. Some aliens invade. They have some fake nuclear war. They put all of the survivors underground and say that they nuked the whole surface, and we have to stay underground for like 3 generations. And then by the time the 3rd generation comes around, we just forget what happened from the first place because they've been propagandized, like the fucking vault, like the Fallout show. You know, everybody saw that, or like the Fallout video games. You know, 3 generations later, they'll just be believing whatever, and so they may never come out. You know, they may never figure it out. But yeah, it's a lot longer, but it's like, that's just genocide with extra steps, isn't it? It's cultural genocide with a lot of extra steps in the middle.
Yeah, something like that's coming in our lifetime. I don't know, but
yeah. And I guess the big question, and the one we've probably failed to answer and only confused people more on, is Trump the thing that's going to save us from that? Is he neutral on that, or is he going to propel us quicker towards that reality and towards the dystopian version of that reality?
I can't figure out.
All right. Well, all right. Maybe the last thing, and we can leave it here.
Sure.
What does the positive timeline of this look like? So, like, we implement artificial intelligence in a manner that uplifts humanity and makes us in more connection with our soul and our curiosity and our wonderment for the world.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that AI and technology will be able to create food, feed us, do all the jobs, which will create freedom for us. I guess I don't really know how it would work. There'd be some kind of human income thing where they would pay to keep you alive, or be free. You know, food would be free. When everything becomes free and you don't have to hoard things, then people aren't going to be greedy. So you don't have to worry about anything being empty because you can go whenever you want and get it, right?
Yeah.
So that will create how housing and stuff will work. I'm not really for sure, but that will create, there still will be jobs, but it will be up to you if you want to do them. Do
Mhm.
you want to create? Because that's the one thing we can do better than AI, and that is create. And I don't think AI will ever be able to create better than us. I think they'll be able to do science faster than us, solve problems faster than us, but will they be able to create things?
Mhm.
They oh, look at AI art and everything, but it's going off of our art.
Mhm. It is.
So it can't, if you just told it to make art, I don't know, that would be a cool experiment. If you had a blank AI and say make art, it wouldn't even know what art is, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, until you train it on what art is. Yeah, and to train it on that, you have to show it what humans have made as art. Yeah, that's a good point.
so I
That's a
think it
good
would just
point.
create this place of freedom for us to create, make things like, so like, okay, you can go get free jeans at the store, or you can go create something and trade for the guy who makes the jeans here in your town, who
Mhm.
makes them by hand, who they'll last forever. They're very nice. Same thing with anything,
Mhm.
You can go get a free, um, uh, what is it called when they, uh, 3D printed desk, or you can you could make desk. You could make a beautiful wooden desk from a a tree in your on your land or something like that, and then you could trade it for something else. So it'd
Yeah.
be more of a barter system. If everything's free, then money will be obsolete.
Yeah.
So it'll be more of a barter.
Yeah, I think I see what you're talking about. My dad likes to talk about this possible future in like the Star Trek version of reality, where they can pretty much materialize food, materialize anything you want. And if there's an experience you want to have, they have, what is it called? The holodeck. Is that what they call it in Star Wars? Where you walk into this room and it just like there's like it's like a VR projection. Like, if you want to go skiing down Matterhorn, at the perfect time of year with your friends, you can do that and like have that experience, so it's not like you need to go on vacation or anything because you've got like that right there. And there's food and everything. So humans are sort of just like exploring the universe, exploring curiosity. And it's Star Trek. It's an old thing, so it's not really exactly accurate. But what this makes me think of is that so humans, like our brain, I really don't believe is our consciousness. And our consciousness, your soul, is a different thing from the computational power that your brain has, right?
Mm.
We start to maybe identify with the way our brain makes us feel because our bodies feel whack and just like gross because we don't take care of our bodies. And there's like the intellect and then there's like the spirit, right? And we're so wrapped up in our intellect because our intellect helps us survive,
Yeah.
right? But if we don't have to be constantly using our intellect to survive, then we can free up some of that, processing power for exploring the conscious realm, right? Like, if maybe astral exploration and exploring the conscious realm, like they're doing with like mapping the DMT realm or like mapping the places you might go to and travel to in a psychedelic state. Like there's a whole nother unexplored hidden realm that we know very little about, but even our science is starting to get to this point where it's pointing back at this. Like, hey, like at the end of the realm, at the end of the road of quantum physics, it seems like it points back at this things like, hey, consciousness is this thing that is very, very special,
Yeah.
And for all this AI talk, what I'm starting to believe more and more and more is that humans were the first artificially intelligent avatar that little fractals of consciousness can play in this video game we call human life. That this whole thing, the whole universe, is made just for us, in that it is made, and what I mean by that, it's made just for consciousness and just for conscious things. And since we're conscious things, well, we are conscious things. And I think the best way to think about the Garden of Eden story is the main consciousness data bank that is this thing we call God or Atman or the universe or whatever it is. It made two avatars, Adam and Eve, that were human avatars, right? And they're kind of like non-player characters. in this virtual world we call the universe that exists all around us. And one day they performed a Turing test on those two AI avatars, because some of the angels were telling God, and the angels are just like one part of God's mind. So God's having this internal mental discussion, like, I wonder if these things are actually conscious. Well, they're probably not. You know, it's like a little thing on your shoulder. Like, this is like a discussion in the mind of God. Lucifer is like, no, they're not really conscious, but there is one way to find out. I'll go down there and tempt them to disobey your orders. And if they disobey your orders, then we'll know that they're truly conscious and they're truly made in the image of you, because they have free will, truly. And like, we as the angels, we don't even have free will like that. Or like, not all of the angels have free will like that. And then we passed the Turing test, and we actually proved that we were artificially intelligent, in that we are like a subsidiary of the intelligence of God. And so we're already existing in that virtual world. And the idea of existing completely in like another Russian doll level of the virtual world, you know, that just doesn't feel right. But all this technology producing a world in which I can explore the other cosmic, spiritual, soul-related consciousness realm that's already here, that sounds cool. You know what I mean? But that fork in the road, I don't know. It seems like we're near that fork in the road, and like we're going to go one way or the other on it pretty soon.
Yeah, we're standing in front of it right now.
Seems like it, brother. Seems like it.
Yep. So next episode, what are we going to do? I'm thinking we should do a 2A video next time.
2A video. I'm thinking we definitely do a 2A video. That sounds.
And let's discuss some cool guns and stuff like that.
2A preparation. And it's, you know, it'd be a cool theme is like, how do you guys know all this, talk about all this, research all this, and not live life afraid? You know, and like 2A preparedness, radical individualism, radical self-reliance, all of those things are like things for me, at least, to take my fear away, you know, just knowing I can rely on myself. So that sounds like a good episode to do. Yeah,
because you know, one thing about society coming to an end, you know, deep down inside, it actually gives me the hope of having more control over my life.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Everything's just you're in like a river right now. That river stops, then you can do whatever you want, but you're kind of flowing with this, making decisions, what you can handle. But if the river stops, then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can get out of the creek. You can go do whatever.
Yeah. And it seems like to me, like if we're following the metaphor of a river or a creek or whatever, it's like society right now is like a giant, giant river, and you're on a small raft and you have very little agency on where that river takes you. But the smaller that creek gets, the easier it is to get off at one side or the other, jump on the bank, fucking run the snakes off and chill for a little while, you know? Or float down the river nice and calmly, you know, or crack open a beer, or, you know, anything like that. But if it's a raging ass river and you got no control, then yeah. So yeah, your options might be more limited, but you're more free to choose them.
Right.
Hell yeah, brother. Well, shoot, dude. Well, thank you so much for sitting down for an episode, man. It's been a good conversation. I think we depicted what I wanted to depict.
I was good enough to post.
Cool. Well, hell yeah, man. Should be a couple days before this gets published, but I'll let you know when it does, Josh.
All
right, man. Well, have a good day. Tell Hannah I said hey. Tell Ben and Willie I also said hey.
Yeah, but Ben's been screaming in front of the door the whole time. So you might hear him when you re-listen.
Hell yeah. All right, buddy. Well, take care, man. I love you.
Okay, bud.
Peace.
Peace.